So I'm here with half a pig. You never know what might happen in this crazy world. Trucker convoys are using their power to stop these insane mandates. And yes, I do think they are insane mandates. And that might mean that you do not have food available. So you could probably find a farmer that has a pig. And there are lots of ways of slaughtering a pig. And there's tons of stuff on YouTube, but I thought I'd show you a way that is really kind of cool and easy to butcher a pig up into edible, fabulous, delicious pork. So here's what we do. You get your half a pig and it will look like this. It will probably be missing its head if you buy it from a butcher, but if you do it yourself, cut the head off. We take the trotters off. That's the bottom part of the feet because we use them for soup. At this point, what I have is a few main parts. Front leg, which is called the picnic. Back leg, which is called the ham. I've got the tenderloin, which runs across the back. And I've got the belly right here, which is bacon. It can be bacon or it can be pork belly. I am not a professional butcher, so it never comes out looking like the store, but that's perfectly fine. Inside, we have the leaf lard right here, which makes excellent pie crust, and that'll be one of the things we pull out first. And up top right here, which is kind of hidden, is there's this inner loin or tenderloin that the butcher usually takes for him or herself. So anyway, first thing we're gonna do, I'm taking off the front legs and the back legs right now because I'm gonna chop all the meat off that later for sausage. So what I do is I find where the spine takes a dip right here, give or take, and I am going to cut from the belly up to the spine like so. Good sharp knives really, really help. This is totally something you could do by yourself. It's never gonna look like it does at a butcher shop when you do it yourself, unless you have tons of equipment, because they do it with bandsaws and other expensive tools that are necessary if you're doing it on scale, but unnecessary if you're doing it small scale. Anyway, so now I have this kind of opened. You can see the spine when I did that kind of separated, and I'm gonna kind of hang it off the end of my cutting block. Countertop, whatnot. Spin it a couple times, give it a nick, and the ham is off. Now, later I'll come back. I'm gonna let this actually just age for a little while. I'll come back, take all the skin off, take all the bones out, and then all this meat is gonna get chopped up and ground for sausage later. So we'll put that aside right now. I do not know how heavy that is, but that's a hefty bit of pork. All right, now, that that's off, it kind of opens up the belly a little, which really helps. So I'm gonna now nick with this uber flexible knife that I just got. These are awesome. Inexpensive, and they sharpen up nicely, hold an edge well, and are really, really flexible. I'm pulling out this inner lard so that we can use it we'll render it and turn it into cooking lard for like pie crusts. There is other lard on a pig too, but this lard is the stuff that we save. We keep it separate because it makes for flaky, fabulous pie crust. And it's got a very different texture. It's really malleable. You'll see in here, like if I do this and I can actually turn it into like a ball. It's really nice stuff. I'm gonna trim off any obvious pieces of meat. That'll go in the dog food bin. The fat will go back in to be rendered later. And then I just keep bins handy because I do a bunch of these in one day. Okay, back to the pig. We're now gonna take off the front leg. Again, that was dog food, right? Dog food bin. Flip. Going with the flexible knife for this. The front leg is actually really easy to take off. It's called the picnic roast. And what we want to do, there's a cartilage kind of plate in here that we want to go around. So we want to take a knife like this, pierce kind of by the brisket, and then we're going to come under and around. And be careful not to stab yourself. You don't want to like go into yourself like this, right? So I'm always conscious of where the tip of the knife is. You can see it just kind of comes right around up to, I think would be the equivalent of like the scapula. I don't know the names of any of these things. Not pretending to be a master pig anatomy expert, but just want to get the meat out of this here pig. Also, there's always evidence of the slaughter. The way we do it, at least, is we use a 9mm pistol, and we take the pig out with that, and then we stick the pig right in the neck, and you can see right here, there's all this clotted blood, which is probably not very delicious. These pigs have been hanging for a couple weeks now. Aged meat is always better, something you actually don't get at the grocery store. But yeah, I'm done with the picnic for now. I'll come back and trim this up later, and all of this meat is actually gonna get ground up for sausage. So I'm gonna move these over to the big bin. Open that big bin. All right. All right, back here. So all of this kind of clotted blood and goop, I'm just gonna trim off and put in the dog food bin. The dogs love it. And we don't waste anything on the farm because it all gets recycled back in. Either the chickens or the dogs will take care of any of the meat. Pigs will also take care of meat, but it's not advisable to feed pig to pig. So anyway, so now we have bacon right here. We also have ribs, and we have some friends that love ribs, so I'm gonna save that for them. We also have the spine, and we have the loin, which is awesome stuff. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut out the bacon right now because I'm gonna cure that up later. Never a bad idea to kind of trim off some of the loose stuff, and all of these trimmings obviously will go into a sausage bin later. So just kind of make it look neat. Doesn't have to be perfect. It does have to be perfect if you're selling at retail or at a grocery store, because that's what people expect, but we don't sell our meat, so it doesn't have to be perfect, and perfect takes a long time. So always just looking for ways of speeding it up. I'm just feeling right now for where the kind of the brisket is, and there's that bone right there, right south of that. I make a cut. I missed it just a little, hit a rib. Now I'm gonna come around. Now what I'm doing is I'm gonna follow the ribs up to here to get kind of the most out of the bacon. And sometimes, yep, I missed it just by a touch there. Sometimes it helps just to kind of score it a little bit first. And momentarily you'll actually see it will look like bacon. So, looks like store-bought bacon. We'll salt this, which cures it, and then we'll smoke it, which turns it from pork belly into bacon. We'll cut the skin off and we'll slice it nice and thin, and it's delicious. It goes in the bin. Bacon bin. All right, what do we have left? We have the ribs for my friends, and we have pork spine, and we have the loin, which is awesome. I find the last rib, just feel with my fingers. By the way, on this hand, I have a cut-resistant glove under plastic gloves. I really recommend that. As a professional violinist, I have to tell you, I've cut my fingers so many times, and it's not good for my career. So anyway, cutting this. I could have turned this part into bacon too, but it gets a little thin, and I'm not really looking to have thin bacons. So there we go. Awesome. So now what we have here is, you can see that's the loin. So that's like a pork chop, and you could turn it into pork chops. All these like retail cuts that are so popular, you could make those yourself if you want. But again, we're not really into that as much as we are into just kind of being efficient with our time. Doesn't have to look perfect. It doesn't matter if we have waste on the meat that we wouldn't normally eat, because it will go to the dogs or go back to the chickens. So it kind of all works out really well that way. Efficiency is awesome on the farm. So pretty good at this point. This is right here, not part of the loin, so we're gonna cut that out right about here. That'll go in the sausage. sausage. I'm gonna trim off the fat there in a second for sausage. And I left a rib on there, so I need to cut that out right now. Okay, dog food. You can't feed cooked ribs to dogs, but you can feed uncooked. Otherwise they splinter. All right, now I'm gonna kind of separate this part of the loin. And I have this really skinny little knife that I just got. I'm gonna sharpen it up so I can make a couple little detail cuts right here, just to kind of follow it, kind of let it just ride along the edge of the spine. There we go. Now it's open. I'm gonna kind of peel it off. And this is the, that high dollar meat, right? It's pork chop, pork loin. So I'm gonna be extra careful with it. Just nice and slow, just peeling it back, pulling. Okay, so, and that is a piece of pork loin. So I like to chop mine up in like 1 inch. I'm just cleaning it up right now. Like 1 inch, give or take, sausage. And I would normally cut 1, 2 out of that, but I'm gonna freeze this, so I'm not gonna do that right now. And we've got a lot more coming up. So this is that inner loin we were talking about. I'm gonna put that in there. It's a small piece. It's not a very big piece of meat, but it is the most tender in the entire pig. So that'll go there. But you didn't think you were gonna be videoing for a straight hour when I said, do you want to come watch this? All right. Anyway, so now what I have, this is a good example of, I don't want to waste any of this. This skin, the dogs will chew on it, but there's a lot of good fat and meat right here, and I want to save that because we're going to grind up sausage later. And as you remember, we took the leg off earlier, and that leg is, there's not a lot of fat in that leg, maybe around the edges, but we're gonna wanna integrate a good bit of fat into the grind. So I'm being really careful. Never cut towards your hand, right? I am, but I'm underneath the skin. And I also have that cut resistant glove, so be careful there. Talk a lot about butchering injuries. Okay, sausage. Kind of just trimming at this point. Trying to be as economical with my time and the pork as possible. I could spend a good bit of time now doing this, or I could put this in the dog food bin and then the dogs get to eat, which we like to feed the dogs. Back to our main area here. All I have left now is this kind of neck meat, which I could have cured and turned into like a capicola, which is awesome, but it's a lot of work. And we were going to get, this time we were kind of going for efficiency to get through the pig. We'll eat it all. I'm just gonna grind it into sausage. As we're heading kind of into spring and summer, it makes more sense for my family to have ground meat because we can defrost it really quickly and cook a delicious meal versus spending lots of time kind of fighting the flies over the meat. So it's about to turn, the weather's gonna turn into that kind of territory. So I just took off, I scored, opened, and we're gonna peel this back right here, which will give us access to the ribs. And this is the side of the ribs that'll be meaty for my friends. This is the side that will take off the loin. The ribs will be exposed. Normally at the grocery store, butcher shop, they would just run a bandsaw right through here and it'd be really fast and easy. It's so hard to cut through ribs with like a meat saw like this. It can be done, but it doesn't actually end up, it kind of mangles it. So anyway, so I'm just following the ribs and just peeling back. And that's not a beautiful job, I'll be honest with you, but this is all the loin here. And I'm just kind of separating again. And now I have to kind of ride up the spine a little bit. There we go. So it's kind of ugly right now, but it's gonna be beautiful in a second. So I'm just gonna put this, actually, I'll do this quick. here. This is from where the pork was aging. We held it in a cool room. It was our garage, actually. It's been like 40 degrees lately. So that gets a little bit dry. Not a big deal. It actually, the meat is so tender now. I could put my finger through it. It's so tender because it sat there. It didn't rot. There were no fly issues, no bug issues. So I'm just gonna cut off this dry bit, feed that to the dogs. Dogs do love Butcher Day. And then any nice pieces that come off, I am like, that's not nice, but any nice pieces that come off, I'm gonna put into the grind pile for sausage later. Using this super flexible knife to go under. You'll see it starts opening up. Okay, not much left on that skin, so that's gonna go to the dogs. All right, we're back to our loin. Like I mentioned, we have this kind of dry area here, and I'm just gonna touch this up really quickly. And then I'm gonna flay off that dry bit. When we first started this, I remember freaking out, like I left a little bit of loin on it. Good, it's for the dogs. They'll love it. In fact, here Coco. Yeah, she does. Okay, so, now, okay.
Not letting her lick my face tonight.
Why? That dog food at the store is way worse.
She's ready for more. Look at that.
All right, beautiful. That's an example. Like that's gonna be great for sausage later. So it's there. It looks like a ton of fat for the sausage right now, and that would be way too much fat for sausage. But don't forget we have all those lean front and back legs that we're gonna turn into sausage later. You can get a hand grinder, just something you crank like that, really help. Or you can mince meat. I mean, I've heard of mince meat before. I'm sure that's where it comes from. You can just chop it up. You don't actually have to buy a fancy grinder to do that. So this is a gorgeous loin now, and I want to leave some of that fat on for when it cooks because it leaves a lot of flavor. So that's going to get ground. This is going to be loin, and then here, I'll bring it over, is for dinner tonight. Because so that's loin that we chopped and are marinating. I put some toasted sesame oil and some what was it? Soy sauce. That's it. Just letting it sit there. We're gonna cook that up momentarily. Almost done. So this loin, the piece we took off earlier, and that raggedy inside piece, which they always look so ugly, but they are so delicious. So last bit now, we're gonna take this skin off, but we wanna leave the meat on because ribs tend to have meat and fat on them. You can see though, like that bacon kind of look right there, pretty neat. Anyway, I'm gonna take my super flexible knife, blade facing this way, and I'm gonna put it right under the skin. And you'll see it kind of traveling under there. Again, I'm cutting, but I know the tip is going this way, so I'm not too worried about my fingers right now, but again, I still have that cut-resistant glove. I don't want any of these people that are learning how to do this cut themselves, which I've done too many times, so definitely learned. And then it just, again, it just flays off the skin. If we leave meat or fat on it, no problem. Don't stress about that. Just get it off the best you can, and then we're gonna clean it all up. Again, professional butcher probably is freaking out right now, but you know, do stuff that's functional. Sausage pile. Sausage. Coco.
It's like, do I get another piece?
Yeah, you do. Is it okay if I give her some more?
I don't care. Okay. First thing she does is throw up.
Yeah, it's our house. Okay.
And then Kitsy eats it.
How nasty. Do you think she wants a piece like this, or?
I have no clue. I've never given her raw meat before, so.
A whole crew of people laughing at me here. All right, again, I'm done with this. Like, I could spend another 10 minutes cleaning this up, but we have dogs, so give it to the dogs. Or chickens, give it to the chickens. Of course, if you bought that from the grocery store, you'd want every last bit because you paid for it, but that's kind of the whole point. Like, we're not buying from the grocery store. So now I'm looking here and I'm seeing some kind of cool, like, I got that little hanger right there. That's gonna go. Wait, okay? Anyway, this is meat for the ribs, and I'm gonna just, there's an opening right there. Use that. A little bit of cartilage right there. Another trick I kind of learned was you don't have to saw everything. You can just break it over the end of your cutting board. And then once you do, it just pops right out. Okay, so these ribs, again, that kind of looks like grocery store ribs. Not so much. Usually they would leave it on here or they would cut it right there and they would send it, wrap it up all neat, nice and neat. But that's a meaty bit of rib. So hope my friends like it. This piece now, I'm just gonna trim because there's a lot of good stuff left on here. That's actually some loin, so I'm gonna leave that over there. But all this other stuff is gonna go into the sausage grind. This bloody stuff will get put in with the dog food. So, and having a super flexible knife is awesome because it follows the ribs well and you don't have to stress about like dulling the knife all the time. It actually follows because you can see like this is super flexible. So again, I'm under cutting towards my hand. If it slipped, it would go under my hand like this, watch. So don't cut yourself. Okay. Okay, I could spend another hour cleaning this up. It's a bloody mess here. There's not really much meat. This is a great example of something the dogs will love later. And you can see a big old pile of goodness over there. Basically, we're done. I'm gonna wrap this. And this is for soup. That's one of the maybe most underrated parts of the pork is you can actually see we got bone, spine, and trotters that make amazing, amazing soup. You'll make your pork broth and it will smell like a Chinese restaurant. That's the flavor of pork broth is Chinese food. So now I'm gonna take my grind. Not a bunch today. Close that back up. Go back in the cool room. Now that we're done, wrap, and we're done. Hope that's helpful. Keep in mind that as supply shortages continue to kind of plague the country, some for manufactured reasons, some for patriotic reasons, like these truckers, I really think they're doing a great thing by insisting that these mandates be lifted. I'm not trying to get all political here. I just think that freedom of what we put in our bodies is really important and that we should be able to choose. And I'm really thankful to them for standing up. And it might mean some hard times for all of us in the near future because most of our food is delivered by truck. So good luck. Hope you can get through these times and I hope that helps. Be brave, buy a pig, butcher it yourself.